I want to do today is do a little practice with arrays. The goal is, as we learn about exploding strings into arrays and then imploding arrays into string, we can then use what we learn with that to reach our goal of, on our Bible search project, when we enter search terms such as this, David and Goliath, that we generate a query that will look something like this. And I'll just make it nice caps so you can see the keywords. There's select from from the Bible ASV table where, and we build this where clause of however many words are given here. That will become a where clause that looks something like this, that the text field in our table search would be, well, is a text like wildcard David wildcard, and the text also like quote wildcard Goliath wildcard. So we're going to turn, hey, I want to look for those two words occurring in a verse, to becoming a query that looks like this, based on whatever words are given in this search. But let's start by practicing with arrays. So I'm going to build a new script just for practicing with arrays, and then as I build on that, we'll take what we learn and put it into our little Bible reader project search feature. So let's build that script. I'm going to go to VS Code and start a new script. I'm going to call it array practice. So over here in my page of, or my folder of all my PHP pages that I'm going to be sending to the server, I'm going to start a new file. I'm going to call it array practice. And just in case I do want some HTML there, I'm always going to surround it with HTML. So exclamation point tab. And then I'm going to put PHP in the body. It's always good to have that embedded in HTML, so anything you generate with PHP will be a valid web page. It always will validate. We love things to validate. If they don't validate, you're not doing a good job. So the code we want to put in here now, here's our PHP code. And I did add the PHP extension. We'll see if it behaves any better. And see, let's go ahead and let's just do echo array practice. And if we want to make that an H1 just for fun. Clean up my code. And don't forget my semicolon. So in here, let's create an array, say of multiple words. So just for fun here, create an array. Actually, sorry, create an array from a string multiple words, as we practice working with arrays. So I'll just say str my string is equal to, and let's just make it a string of words: apple, berry, David, Goliath. And now, how do I split that up into into an array? Because arrays are a lot easier to loop through, do something with each word in the array. And for that, let's go to W3 Schools and look for arrays and just review what we know about arrays over here, W3 Schools. And then we can use, I've often used AI to give me examples where I used to do search for examples and then go to places where sometimes the programmers weren't very helpful or very clear. Remember, with arrays, we can put things into arrays using a push. We can dump what's in my arrays. I can fill my arrays at different indexes and do lots of other things. We've learned about associative arrays, where I can give a name rather than a number to an element. I can say, give me the brand element of an array or the year element of an array by accessing it based on a name rather than a number here in the square brackets. That's the associative array. So you don't have to just have things named by what item index is in my array. So we'll come back and practice with arrays, but use this as your reference if you need. There's also a whole array references at php.net. But we can learn all about arrays. Let's learn about turning a string into an array. And I can come up to here and see if they have in strings. They have modified strings, slicing. Let's look at PHP or W3 School's slicing strings and see what they explain. They slice a string and given examples of splitting a string at a particular location. That's really not what I want. I want to do something better. And so W3 Schools doesn't give me enough, but I know there's something that I can do with exploding a string. This is where AI can often help. Rather than hunting it down or go to php.net, I can just say to any AI, PHP example, split string into array of words, and see what example code an AI might give to me. They immediately go to a function called preg_split. Split the string into an array of words using spaces at delimiters. Right away they throw us into the preg_split, and I have to learn about regular expressions having to do with this, what seems like a strange syntax. This is something very powerful that can be very helpful, but you get confused, and it's very useful though to learn about preg_split. But I'm going to show you something easier to start with, and we can always come back to something like preg_split. I'm going to ask, since I know about it, I'm going to say use explode instead of split. And here is how we can explode a string into an array of words. It's a little simpler to understand, but I know that preg_replace is the more powerful version. But let's look at this example. I can create an array of words just using this explode function. I've come across this enough. It's simpler than preg_replace. And basically, let's see what explode does for us. And I guess the easiest way to look at explode is, well, I guess I could just ask AI. I'm just going to start another AI page to be my explanation. I could go to the reference manual, or could I just say explain PHP explode. And it's a little easier to read than this. If I go to php.net and look for explode at the php.net page, this is what I get for the explode manual. Now it is a readable and somewhat helpful, but often confusing, giving me the very basic syntax. Sometimes they give you an example. Oh, they actually gave you an example here. Little harder to read, but getting practice at reading the manuals at php.net, you're eventually going to want to be able to read that. But but sometimes AI gives you a little more readable explanation of how explode works with an example. So I love asking the question, just say explain a particular thing in a particular language, and you get this kind of output where this is your manual, and you can learn to read through this, and you learn all about the versions and some examples. Sometimes and it gives you multiple examples there. Sometimes this is actually a little more readable page than I've often run across, but this is the very ultimate syntax example, and telling you what it's expecting in the type in each of those 3 parameters, where this just says, hey, use explode, here's how it works. So now that we see an example of using explode, let's use the explode instead of the preg split in our example. So back to our example. Let's turn this into array by doing and I'll put in reference preg split also works. But let's do the easy way. Let's do let's call it, I like to name my array. Since it's a loosely typed language, I need to remember what type of variable I'm holding. So I often name my arrays starting with letter A. I'll call it A words. So I remember that's an array of things. And I'll just say A words equals explode, need the delimiter, which is explode on the space between words, and the string. And now, before doing anything else, I'm just going to do a echo pre, and I'm going to do var dump a words. And then echo the pre-formatted. Whenever I'm debugging variables, I put it pre-formatted around there, and I'll put put the debug. And save that. So all I'm doing is showing what do I get when I explode that string, and then we'll work on processing my array. A words, not words. You can decide how you want to name your arrays. I just have the general practice. I put A in front of anything that's an array. You could put it after. Sometimes you'll see people doing word array. But I like to just put the little letter A in front of to remind me what the type is that I'm expecting there. So now I've saved it. Now I'm going to send it over to my server, and let's see what we get for output. Where's my, I have to refresh my local side. There's my array practice, sending it to my server, and then browsing to my server. One of these is my server page. That's not it. That's a different machine. Let's go to my server. 172.16.1.63 JSmart array practice. Oh, am I in the right place? Must have spelled it wrong. So there's my output. So my array of words has been turned into multiple words. I do have an extra blank word hanging onto my array. Let's figure out what went wrong there. Why am I getting that? I look back at my explode example. Notice, let's see, where's my word? I did have an extra space here. Because of that extra space on the end, it entered a blank entry in my array when it exploded it. Let's fix that by trimming the string. There's a function called trim that basically removes extra white space around the edges of a string. So let's send it the string trimmed. And now that I have the PHP help extension, if I hover over that function, it gives me a little hint about that. Strip white space from the beginning and end of a string. So I'm going to trim stir, and now I won't have that extra blank in there. And just for fun, we'll see that it works. Send that over, update, yes, and then refresh. Now I don't have the extra blank element in my array. So that's an example of exploding that array of words. Now remember what our goal is. We would like to turn our array of words into this kind of thing. I want to add some words around every word that I have. I'm going to put it to the left of it, text like single quote %, and on the right of it, % single quote. But let's see how would we get there from an exploded array. So now, suppose I'm going to do something. I'll add something here later. Do something with each word. And now let's implode into a string again, just to practice the inverse of explode. Well, what would that be? Let's go back to our AI friend and just ask our AI friend inverse of explode. Telling it we're working with PHP, inverse of explode, and implode is the inverse, and it gives me a nice explanation. Remember, I could always go to the PHP, and does it give me a see also in the manual? Usually there's a see also. Yeah, there's the see also part of the manual. So notice here in the menu you get a lot more references to other things related to that, where perhaps if you gave the right phrase, you might see what show me related functions. But here I get a nice output. Explain what is the inverse of explode. It gives me implode, takes a string. There's my explode, there's the input. It takes a string. I do need to tell it, well, what do I put in between them when I'm imploding from an array back into a string? In this case, they show put colons in between. We want to put something else in between. But let's practice that. Let's practice the implode, and then we'll build our code that will take a string of words and generate the where clause for our Bible search function. All right, so back to our practice. Let's do an implode, and let's call it stir2 equals implode, expecting the name of my array. The glue in between. They call it the glue in that example. I'm going to do the autocomplete. Let's have the glue be, for now, let's have the glue be comma space. And then the second parameter is the array that I'm calling here pieces. So the array is $a words. And let's do we'll do a var dump of a words and a var dump of stir2. Actually, I could just do echo stir2, would be the same thing. I don't need to do a var dump of stir2, that'd be silly. Since it's just an echo of stir2, echo stir2 equals brackets around it just so I can know where it started and ended. Stir2. And I suppose I should have a new line just doesn't run up right against that. So let's see what we generated when we imploded from a words. Save that, send it over, and refresh the page. So you see that my string started with separated by space. I exploded it and imploded it with commas in between. Now, remember what we want to do. We want to take a string of words and we want to, let's just say there's 3 words, David and Goliath and stone. That should look like and text like Goliath and text like % stone. % single quote. This is the part that we would like to explode and then put back together. So let's see what this part here looks like, just to make it very clear. There's the word. There's the in between. So I'm taking the word, putting this around both sides of it. There's the word. Actually, wait a minute. There's the first part of it. There's what's in between. There's the next part of it. That's in between. So notice I am generating this multiple times around the word, around each word. And then once I have all these things generated, then I'm putting an and in between all of those. So if I take and have an array of these 3 words, and I generate another array of strings that look like this one at a time, then I implode that with an and in between, I will then get all of this. Now I could have done a loop and building up a string through a loop, but this is kind of a little more elegant way to do it, and it gives me practice using arrays and imploding and exploding. So let's see what this code would look like. First of all, can I simply create an array that has this in each element, knowing that I have created an array of the words to start with. And then one at a time create a new array with this in it for each element. So here's what I want to do. So let's go back to our practice. Let's now, in my practice with each word, remember how to process each word. For $A words as, and we'll call it $W for each word. Remember, this is the nice, concise, when I want to go through each element of an array, here's my array, here's the variable that I'm going to name it as I go through each element in my array. I don't have to worry about an index because I don't know if I have indexes. It might be associative array. All I care about is for each element in my array, no matter what its index is, what I want to do is build up another array one at a time, giving it a value of something like this. It's going to look like text like quote, single quote, %, some word, %, that. That's what I want to put in each element. So in order to do this, I better start with my array. So let's do $, what should we call it? Array, I'll call it array of them I like. I'll call my array likes because that's what's going to be in there. It's going to be text like equals, and I've seen this now in PHP code. Remember how to initialize an array? I can use the word array parenthesis, but I can also do this. You'll come across this sometime. Empty brackets means create an empty array. I like it because it's nice and clean. It's an alternative to array empty brackets, empty parentheses. So let's try this and see if I get any errors. Now for each element in my array, to add a new element, I can just say a likes empty brackets equals let's see, I want to be double quote text like single quote percent dollar the word percent single quote. And let's do a var dump of a likes. See if we have any errors here. Var dump in our little debug section of a likes. Now I know I can do array push. That's another way to add an element to the end of an array, but I think if this works, I like that cleaner way. Let's run the test code, make sure I got the words this correct, and see if this actually does produce an array of strings that have this in it. So now sending it over. Oh, doesn't like something. Is that? Oh, what did I do wrong there? Let's make sure I got this. For as for each, sorry, for each. Forgot, it's for each, not for. Yeah, for each parenthesis. So I had the for right, I forgot, it's for each, not for. Now, that should be right. Get a little rusty here. Send it over and see if I have errors. Oh, forgot to use a likes in front of it. Where is that? A likes there. A likes there. There. A likes down there. That old bug. And the debugging part of it. And there we go. So my array likes now has each of the pieces of that where clause in my second array using the wonderful shortcut for go through every element in my array. Remember, it's for each, not for. And now I can implode this into an array with and between each of these lines, and I have my string that will give me the proper where clause to search for multiple words in verses. So let's make sure you got that working for you. It's working. Okay, so your array 4 is coming out. Very good. So that's the remember when you put this inside the pre-formatted, right, then it comes out a little easier to read, but it's not that bad if you don't have pre-formatted around it. But it shows you, it's a great way to debug, am I building my array correctly? Now, with this knowledge, now that I know that I can implode something saying put this in between anything when I'm imploding, now let's make another string and let's call it $, s where for the string. That's going to be my where clause. Equals, well, I'm going to just implode my a likes array with the word and in between each element of my a likes array and $a likes. So this should become generate the text like $W1% and text like etc. etc. So this will generate, putting an and between every one of those, text like such and such, with the wildcard, the MySQL wildcard around it. Taking the a likes array that I generated there and putting an and in between it. So remember, just to review what we did here, what happened? Ooh, my screen just went black. And it stayed black. What happened? I moved my foot. Did I move a cable? Or a power cable? I just lost video. Power cable was just barely hanging on. There we go. We got power back. Now where was I? Yeah, we're putting that and in between each of those. And now let's see, save that. And let's see if we get our where clause. Oh, I want to do an echo my where clause. So we'll do a echo $s where clause. Now you don't have to put the s's in there, but I just kind of, if I'm going to put a's in front of arrays, I put s's in front of anything that's my string. That's what I always do when I have a loosely typed language I'm working with. I like to remind myself what I'm keeping in each variable as I build up lots of variables hanging around. So send it over to the server and then refresh. And it didn't refresh, did I? Oh, maybe I didn't do a save out of here. Let's do a Control S save. Make sure I got the Control S save in there. Where clause, echo where clause. Yes, it does have a newer length. Okay, now refresh. There we go. Now does that look right? So text like apple and text like berry and text. So this would be my where clause that would be used in a search for those 4 words, must all be contained in the text of a verse. Now that I have done my practice, now I am ready to apply this to my Bible search form, where they're going to give me input of possible multiple words on a line that may have extra spaces around them, left and right. I'm going to trim it, turn it into an array separated based on the spaces in between words, process that array into a second array called a likes that will contain text like quote percent around each word, percent quote, creating that new array, importing that array back into a string with and between every element generated here, and then I can use the where clause in my search of my verse containing that text. So let's go now over to the Bible form now. So we know what we can do with a little practice file. Now we're ready to implement that code on my Bible form, knowing that this is going to be coming from an input, and then basically I can use this same code. And I'm thinking that this might be useful enough. I'm thinking I'm going to generate a function that'll start with a string, explode it into words, generate the likes. Maybe let's make it a function. Yeah, we'll make it a function in our version in Bible form, just to make our code neat. So I'm going to select from here to here and copy, and I'm going to write a function that takes that string of words they gave me and will generate the where clause using this syntax. So let's go to my Bible form, and notice I'm in the searching part. The element on my request will be a thing called text search. And so if I click the submit on that second form that I have on my Bible search form here, in the processing, if they have clicked the submit button, that comes here. If they've clicked on the text search form, then I know that this will have something in it. That means that variable will be set. And I want to echo the result of the search. So my search Bible function is where I want to put that code. So let's see, in my search Bible function, which I like to define at the top here. Where's my search Bible function? Oh, here's my search Bible function. And this is the part that right now I'm giving you the code for what the searched SQL is going to need to look like. A little reminiscent of your database course, but here's what it looks like. And let's just walk through this carefully. I'm selecting the Bible book's name. Remember, where there's a separate table containing my name of the book. The Bible T representing the text of the book, chapter, verse, and text. From, well, here's the main table that contains all the chapter numbers, verse numbers, book numbers, and text, and I'm aliasing as a shorter variable name BT. That's where the BT comes from. BT is what I'm using as an alias for the Bible text table. Its actual name is this long name, Bible verses ASV. So I'm saying from that table, you've got the chapter, verse, and text. I'm interjoining it with BB only because BB has the name of my books. That's where I get the name of the book, from BB. And the relationship is the book number in the BB table has to match the book text's book field. For some reason it was called book instead of book number in my Bible text. Remember, this is something I downloaded and imported from that website that has multiple versions of the Bible available to me. This is the part that we're going to want to modify to handle multiple things that they have wanting to search for. Right now, in this particular example, it's assuming I'm giving one word to search for. And notice I'm expecting them to have put the percentage in there. We don't want to make our user put the percent in there. We're going to put that in for them using our where clause builder. So they're giving us a string, and I think in our function, I think we are sanitizing it when we call this. Let's see, where did we call that? Search Bible. Oh yeah, down here. When I call search Bible, notice I am doing the filter var from what they're handing me in that text input function. So back up to here. In the search Bible, we want to build a function that returns that instead of stir, we're going to put in where clause. So let's modify it right now. We'll first build the where clause function right above here. So let's make function. Let's call it search where clause. It takes a string, and what should we call it? Let's call it words. So I'll call it S words. Words to search. It takes a parameter S, and that I'm calling S word search. I'm taking the code from the practice we just did, pasting it right there, and let's pretty it up here. Let's see, I guess it's not automatically getting prettied for me. And we're exploding S word search instead of just the string variable called stir. Now let's give a little explanation to this. Return a string that looks like text like word1, w1, and text like w2, etc. I like to use capital likes just because that's nicer looking SQL code. And so we're going to generate that where clause, and we're going to return the where clause. Return S where clause. And it's not printing it up the way I like, but it's easy enough to fix. Oops. So I explode into single words. I process each word. Instead of do something, I'll say process each word. Process each word, putting results into the A likes array. Now, imploding the A likes array, recombine with proper SQL syntax around the words, and return the results. I like this clean way of initializing an array, and I like this way of adding an element to an array. I'm going to remind myself, same as array push. I like it. Empty brackets, add another element to the end of that array. Because the order doesn't matter. Implode it into the where clause with and between every one of these. And now that that function should work, that's what I should be able to put right here. Instead of stir, I can say end that with a double quote, concatenate the results of search where clause, parenthesis, stir, and I don't need this either, do I? I'm going to do where clause. And I just realized I have to say bt.text instead of text. So here I realize I can't use the word text. I need to use bt.text. I'm thinking I should send that as a parameter to the where clause. So I'm going to put in parentheses bt.text as a parameter, and I'll call that my field name. Let's call that up here. So let's call that, let's add a parameter. We're creating a search on the field. Or how about call name? Let's call it the call name. And that's going to go right there, $s call name. Because, and then send that as the column that's going to be in the column like each word with the and in between. So I added an X parameter, and I better put that in my function. Anytime we write a function, we should explain the function, and I like to do it this way. S call name, name of table column to be used in the like clauses, and then the S word search listing of words, wait, space separated to be found. All this so they can search for more than just one word in my verses. I'm not sure what happened there. Just one block. Now let's send my Bible form over, and let's see if it will work now. Let's verify my code. The where clause, just for fun, well, I could always echo if this doesn't work. Let's see, where, that's going to generate all my likes, bt text like and bt text like for each word. Oh, do I need that? I think I actually have an extra single quote in there. I don't think I need that. So I can get rid of that last little piece. So the where clause will be generated by the search where clause function. Yeah, let's let her rip. See what happens. Send my new code over. I did have a little typo in there. Let's go to the Bible form. There's that. That's still working. Okay, let's search the Bible for David. See if that part still works. David. Oh, it didn't find it, so I know there's a problem already. I wonder if it doesn't have to be a capital. Is it case sensitive? No, I've got a problem. I'm not finding any verses. I've got some debugging to do. Somehow my search string isn't working where it was working before. Time to do a debugging. I'm going to do right here in my search Bible. Let's see. Oh, before doing anything, let's go back to that page and let's do the Control-Shift-I. Maybe there's an error right in the middle of my form that, let's see, search results. So I don't see any PHP errors. Let's see, why am I am getting the 0 results found. Let's see what my query looks like. Let's see. So I'm generating where clause, and in between everything, bt.text. Time to do a little debugging. Let's do it right here. Let's echo right here. Echo. Actually, we could do an alert, but let's just do an echo s-where clause. And often you can do, if you want to end there, you can often just say die and don't do anything else, because all I want to do is see what my clause looks like, and I don't need to go any further. If I just wanted to debug it, I can just say, hey, give me that message and don't do anything else. And let's see if we get any further, and then we'll be done. Refresh my form. Search for David. Oh, of course, I spelled something wrong in my debugging part. S. Oh. S-word search is coming back wrong. Where? S-word search. Oh, had double S's there. And I think we're good. Can always hope. Looks like my where clause is coming out right. I think we're good, but we'll end there and leave that for you. Can you finish that? I didn't realize it was a quarter after already. Sorry, doctor. Having so much fun.
It's a good thing.
I did record this just in case you need. Oh, did I record it? Was that what crashed? My screen suddenly went black right in the middle, and I don't know if the power cable slipped out of the screen, but I also lost his screen.